You are listening to Gunn Music Radio with Studio King at www.radioking.com/radio/Gunn Music Radio. This is TMT, the Total Metal Tour. I am DJ KJ, aka Jada Cake. Welcome to the TMT Special Interview Series, Volume 1.
You're listening to Gunn Music Radio. We're Sagan.
I've been a musician my entire life. In some aspects or other. I started messing around with singing at like 5 years old, and I was always just like chorus in school. I played with my first keyboard at 8 years old. I received my first guitar as a gift, actually, when I was 10, but I didn't really like learn to play it properly until I was around 12-ish. And then I sort of went off the rails as a teenager, and I was in and out of punk bands. I had guitar teachers, and they wanted to teach me how to play like classically styled, but I was like, nah, I'm cool with blood power chords and distortion pedals. So I was in a bunch of bands like throughout the years that no one's ever heard of, so I don't even want to mention them. But so later on, I was asked to play guitar for a band called Bile in New York City, and that was around the time that I started getting like real opportunities in the music industry. Nick, what's your story?
Oh, man. We actually kind of started out the same. I started playing guitar around age 10. Throughout high school and college, I played in bands, and I was a music theory student, so I did all like the classical stuff. And then I ended up moving to Minneapolis and joining a band called American Head Charge, and that kind of sent my career into new areas. And from there, I just kind of progressed. I played in a band called The Dreaming, which is Chris Hall from Stabbing Westward's side project, and then ultimately ended up in Powerman 5000 and Hail Sagan. So it was a pretty good ride.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You guys have had pretty extensive history. It's really, really admirable.
Thank you.
What are your favorite types of music?
Well, I've always listened to everything, like literally everything, but I think like my true loves have always been like new wave, alternative stuff, electropop, synth pop, dark wave, that kind of stuff. But these days, I'm only really listening to like relaxation music.
You like to relax?
Yeah, I like to relax. It's funny, I said something to my hairdresser when she was doing my hair, and I asked about it, and she goes, that stuff puts us to sleep. And I was like, I know, but I really like it. I've been into tribal fusion dubstep. I kind of listen to that on my own time. And right now, I'm obsessed with Tool's Lateralis album. So that's like been my thing. I know it's like an older one. I think that was released in like the early 2000s. But like, I obviously heard the songs before, but right now there's just it's just calling to me. So it's something I've been like kind of obsessed over right now.
That's so cool. Tool's amazing.
I've always been a fan, but I've always been more of a background fan, if that makes any sense. Kind of like if they were playing, I liked their music, I hummed along, I didn't mind them, but I never really got super into them. But now they're just kind of calling to me for other reasons. I don't know. I think it's just where my mind is at.
That's neat.
I was kind of the same way, even though they were like an influence of mine musically, but I would always kind of tiptoed around them.
Yeah.
But there was like key songs like off of the Anima album and like 46 and 2 and stuff like that really kind of helped influence, well, all music really, but our personal music too.
But I think I'm like, I came back around to Parabola on Lateralis. I think that like, to me, that like song is just something that lyrically speaks to me, and just the sound of it, I'm enjoying it right now. So I think that's my obsession at the moment.
Heck yeah. Well, that leads me to the next question. What musicians influence you most?
For me, it's quite simple. I've always been very influenced by Peter Steele from Typo Negative. You can hear that. A lot of people are surprised, but then when I mention it, they go, "Oh yeah!" Like especially in our song "Feeling the Crown," you can hear a lot of Typo Negative influence in that song. And Jim Morrison of the Doors, Bjork, and I think Nick and I share a huge influence of Trent Reznor from like Nine Inch Nails.
And Typo Negative as well.
Yeah. That's something that, like, I think brought us together, too, was, like, the same bands that we liked.
Yeah.
When we talked about, like, what we liked, it was weird because the stuff we liked was kind of out there, like, on the fringe of, like, you know, what most people, I guess, listen to. So when we found that we both liked the same stuff, it was like, oh, you know, high five. That's cool.
Our backgrounds are really similar, like, with what we like and how we started in music and all that stuff. So it was kind of meant to be.
Yep. That's for sure.
It's awesome when music brings people together. And now that you mention it, that I totally see the Typo Negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I have to point it out because, well, I mean, I'm a female, so I have a female voice. The last thing someone thinks of is Peter Steele when I sing. But there are a lot of influences in there, and I think if someone were to sit down and really give it a listen, they'd probably hear it.
Where I heard it the most was actually in Just a Secret and Dark Cloud.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep. If you listen to Stealing the Crown in the middle interlude section, it gets very typo. We have...
Was it crickets?
Yeah, cricket sounds in the back.
We didn't do birds because we thought that would be too blatant, even though I was kind of like really wanting it. But... you know, because in Typo, they were always putting the birds in there. I just think it's so cool. It's such a dichotomy between, like, that dark, like, depressing feel, and then suddenly there's birds chirping, and you're like, what the heck's going on here? And I always loved that about them. So when we did that, we talked about it, and we settled on cricket.
Yeah, so in the quiet part, you can, if you put headphones on, you can hear crickets going off in the background.
I think it's when I'm whispering in that song, which is like there's like an interlude right before the breakdown. It's like right around that song, and it's like you can just listen ever so quietly. You'll hear the crickets in the background.
I'm definitely gonna have to listen to it again with headphones.
Yeah.
We like to put a lot of stuff in where
there's hidden stuff.
Yeah, if you look, our soundscapes are pretty interesting if you listen with headphones.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely be listening to it again. I've been listening to you guys for the last couple weeks, actually. I've listened to all of your stuff on Spotify and just over and over again. I really like the Hail Sagan. Isn't that the earliest one?
Which one?
The self-titled.
Oh, the way the collections are laid out. Yeah, that was the original EP.
Yep.
So good. It's so good.
That's like the old school. That's the old school.
Yeah.
That was like 4 years ago.
I totally dig it. I really do. I mean, I like all of your music, but that was the one that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Since you're out of Los Angeles, California, what new music catches your attention?
I mean, lately I've been interested in hearing more of the evolution of music than the specific music. So much as I love classic bands, you know, but they've already like done all that stuff before. So it's like, I want to hear that classic sound, I'll go back to them. And I don't want to like listen to anything new that's like, emulating that past sound. So I'm really like lately into my things is like Lady Gaga. I mean, as far as new stuff goes, she's like all across the spectrum of sound, you know. But she still manages to not sound dated. And, like, even her older stuff sounds new because of the electronic aspect. And I'm a huge lover of electronics, so, like, for me, it's speaking to me right now. Other than that, I don't really know a whole lot about the, like, on the pulse stuff because I don't really listen to the radio. What about you? You listen to more than I listen to.
You know what I thought was really great was Post Malone Nirvana cover set that he just did.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was awesome. And his stuff is very cutting edge too, and I enjoy like his production value and how he kind of blends rock music with like really new styles and so he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree.
That's so awesome. I agree as well. Both those artists are incredible.
Yeah, we're lucky to have, you know, that kind of music coming out.
It's so infinite now.
Yeah.
You can sit down with a computer and make sounds that people have never heard before.
And breaking through that genre stereotype, because everybody's always been stuck in a genre, and I feel like the newer musicians, and even the stuff that we've been doing, has been kind of genre bending, and so we're not being like pigeonholed into being one label of music, but rather encompassing all of the different sounds. And I just think it's like an all-encompassing thing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't have to fit into one certain area right now. You can put out a single. It's so easy to record a song now. You can put out a single in any genre, and if you just have your own style, people will be able to tell it's you. So it's really an interesting time for music right now.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of artists are doing that genre blending, and you guys are like electronic, metal, rock, and industrial.
Everything. Anything you can think of, we're sticking it in there because we love all genres of music. So we'd always thought from the beginning, like, why would we, force ourselves to sound like one thing? And I always was very open with the fans about that from day one. It was like, because I came from another project that was similar, but like maybe didn't allow me to have as much freedom. And it's like I've said from day one, like, I don't like to be called a specific genre, and I would kind of get irritated by that because it was like, I'm not one kind of genre, I'm like all of the genres. So like you might hear, even on that first EP, I feel like Just a Secret is like vastly different from like Loyalty Goes. It's just like, it sounds like that EP was like a showcase of like, sounds like 5 different bands in one. It was like pretty cool how we did that. And so yeah, I think that expect one genre out of us would be a mistake because we are all over the place with that stuff.
And also an artist's ability to bend with the times is good because if you stay the same, then your stuff will get stale. So it's good to be able to evolve with what's going on and put some current stuff in, or even throw it back to some older stuff if the mood strikes too.
So we're super nerdy with technology. So Nick and I are definitely like really into like bringing in computers and like robots, and that's like to me, like, I feel so blessed to be living in a time where we have that as an option where, there are purists who believe that's not fun, but I don't care about what they think. I care more about the electronic stuff. I love it.
That's so rad. I agree. The ability to use electronics and put music out into the world is so easy now. So how did Hail Sagan come to be?
So we just wrote a song for fun. Like, we came together and wrote Dark Cloud. That was the first song we released, and it kind of just went from there. Nick was still in Power Man at the time, and I was in between projects. I was being offered a lot of opportunities in Hollywood, but ultimately I decided that I wanted something of my own. I didn't want to join anything established or be someone's side project. Nick was really itching to do something different with a new sound. He had some ideas, I had some ideas, so I think that just kind of brought us together.
Yep, and I don't even know how we got to where we were. It just kind of happened. We released the song, and it was kind of out there.
It was released on Revolver, so that was really
right
cool.
Away.
Like, immediately out the gate, it was like, oh wow, this is really cool, and then it just started going like snowballing.
It was like what? We wrote the song, and like a week later, it was on.
Yeah, it was on Revolver, and then I think like a month later, we were signed to like a label, and it just kind of snowballed really fast.
That's so cool. That's so cool how that works, huh? It's like...
Well, that's not really common, so I don't want anyone to think that they're going to write a song with that, because it's actually incredibly rare and probably almost next to impossible. I could never do it twice. I couldn't do that again, and I don't know what we did exactly. I guess the stars just aligned for us at the right moment.
Right place at the right time with the right sound.
That is not common in music.
Yeah, it happened really fast, and usually it takes a band 10 years to...
get where we got.
Yeah.
It just aligned for you guys, for sure.
Yeah, I think that some things just are meant to be, and that it was serendipitous for us. I think Hail Sagan was just meant to be in that way, and that's how it turned out, but I don't think I could ever do it again for another project.
The crazy thing is that it was Dark Cloud, the first song we ever wrote. We wrote that song in, 30 minutes.
And I wasn't even really trying very hard. Like that's the thing about it, is like going back, you go, man, I wish I would have done this differently. There's so many things I would have done differently with that song to make it so much better, but obviously now it's too late. But yeah, like when you look back, we really didn't do it much for that. It was kind of easy.
That's so awesome to hear. You say how easy it seemed to fall together when it's something, like you said, it doesn't happen to people very often, and
Yeah.
it's really cool that that happened for you.
Yeah, we're very grateful.
How do you go about writing new material?
It's the same thing. It just sort of happens on its own. Like Hail Sagan's like the amalgamation of like our respective experiences. So like when the writing occurs, it's the collection of impromptu pieces. Then they're all sewn together to become a song, if that makes any sense. It's not like in the movies where a band sits around in a room jamming. Things just happen on their own. It's like, I'll write a vocal line, and Nick will be like, oh, cool, that fits the guitar riff I've been working on, and somehow it comes together. We are in our own respective places, and then we kind of stitch it, like making a quilt, for the way Hal Sagan has been. Every band is different, but that's how our experience has been, and so it's like everybody has their kind of pieces.
Yeah, it can be like the littlest piece that Sagan puts down as a vocal, and I'll go, oh, that's kind of cool, and put down like a drum part, and then we kind of synth, and we just kind of build off of it. And
it's like a cake. You build like layers, right? With a foundation, you put the flour and the sugar, and it's like, I'll throw a vocal line, he'll throw a drum, and then next thing you know, you're trying to ice it. And kind of
and with how awesome modern recording software is, you can take it apart, you can mute things, you can mix things around really easily. So it makes it really cool to be able to write and kind of make the song exactly how you want it.
Are there specific external sources that influence your writing?
I mean, the world, the world influences everything. But the thing about writing music is that what you're feeling then might not be what you're feeling now. So as souls in a human experience, we change as we grow. And so what was influenced by, like, say, 4 years ago is not what I'm influenced by now, and the same for the future. So when we wrote the bulk of our material years ago, I was in a dark place in my mind, and I was using my lyrics and imagery to purge a lot of negative stuff that I was experiencing. So it was a cathartic experience, but no longer resonates with me, I guess. And so I'm currently influenced by, like, positive thinking. So the influences change, and I think you can tell that when you listen to something from us from like 2016, 2017, and then you listen to like our latest single. If you just sit and like really take in the lyrics and even the kind of the way the music feels, you can tell that I've changed and my influence that changed for sure.
And that single you're talking about is Alternate, right?
Yep, that's the new one that we put out, and that was I think that if you sit and you like listen to the different lyrics or whatever, that going back from 2016 to now, you'll definitely hear that I'm not as angry or angry at all as I was, because I used like my influences were my emotions, like the way that I was feeling or what was happening to me at the time, and like I'd sit down and write about it and then turn it into a song. I mean, that's how Dark Cloud happened. I was dealing with some issues from bullying, being bullied by a particular person in my life, and like that was like a call to, like, in my own journal, like to tell that person, to stop and to not let them take my power. And so I think, everything I write comes from my own experience.
Yeah, same here. With Dark Cloud, I think it came for me out of just excitement to do something new, because I've been playing other people's music for so long. I really wanted to be able to do something where we could be have the final say in everything, and something where a label wasn't trying to tell you what to do or anything like that. And for like Alternate, that was just fun.
It's a super relaxing song. I love the electronic feel. The development and the versatility that you have as a band is really incredible.
Thank you. I think we're just really open-minded. Nick and I are both like really open-minded, so I think together we just work well with that, because with everything we do, we kind of just it just works because we are open to anything. And I think that when you kind of close your mind, no matter what it is, whether it's musically or something else, you end up putting up walls that just, prevent you from really exploring things.
Yeah, it's best to just go with the flow.
Yep. So what Nick was, I think you were saying before about me laying down the tracks for alternate.
I was just saying that Sagan put down a simple vocal line and a keyboard line, and then I just layered on the drums.
It was like a product. Alternate was a product of insomnia, by the way. I was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I jumped on our software program for making music and just see if I could even remember how to use it because I hadn't used it in so long. And that was more of like just for me to test my skills. And I said to Nick, hey, check this out. I remembered how to record a vocal line and write some synth tracks. And to me, it wasn't going to even ever be released to the world. And he was like, oh, that's really cool. And then when I was sleeping, he went and played around with it. And the next day, he goes, check this out. And it was a song. And I'm like, oh, my God. So if you hear an alternate, it slowly builds into this like really super robotic sound, and that's the progression of the journey, because alternate is like a journey. Like you start out in one place and you end up where your final destination is. That's kind of like being human, but then experiencing like an ascension as a person or spirit or whatever. And that's why that the vocal gets like kind of really transformed. And
it's almost like we both dreamed that song up because we each wrote half of the song as the other person.
That's the take from 2 in the morning when I recorded myself. And I thought we were going to re-record it. So when Nick goes, no, I like it the way it is, I was like, really? Because I'm like, that was just me at 2 in the morning playing around. Like I wasn't even trying. I was just singing into this microphone. Like this came from like, that's from the universe. That was me being a conduit. The universe was singing that because I wasn't even trying. And then I thought, oh, we're going to go back and we're going to re-record all this stuff and make it sound really good. And he's like, no, it sounds perfect. And I'm like, really? You think so? So we just left that as is. And the same with the synth stuff that I did, like all that synth stuff. I'm always like, I don't know, second guessing myself. It's something I'm working on in my personal life. It's like stop second guessing myself. And so when I wrote those synth lines, I had to keep reminding him, oh, I was just playing around with it. It wasn't, and he's like, no, it's good. So yeah.
Yeah, I find that first takes are more authentic a lot of the time, and it's hard to recreate the spark that a first take has. So sometimes you have to do it, like if you really mess up, but sometimes it just adds.
Yeah, somehow I was on it, like I just did it, and I was all by myself, and I didn't even really know what I was doing. I mean, I did in a sense, but I had forgotten, so I wasn't even paying attention to like being on the rhythm or even singing on the key or anything.
The hardest part, so I had to put it on.
Yeah, because I was like, also I wasn't, because I sang a cappella. I was just singing to nothing. There was nothing behind me. I just like. I had to
So I had to create a tempo and then map everything to the tempo. That was probably the hardest part about writing that song is getting it all to work on a grid so we could finish like all the little edits and stuff. The echo trails so they're all in time and everything. It has to be. Yeah,
because I was singing out into the ether. Like when I sang those lyrics, there was nothing behind it. It was just me like kind of humming, and going along and just kind of being there at 2 in the morning by myself and just kind of like, And so I played it to him like, okay, put some synth behind this. I don't know, this isn't really a song or anything. And he's like, yeah, it is. I was like, okay. I went to sleep. I wake up. It was a song.
Totally. And that totally relates back to what you were talking about earlier, where the songs you're writing just falls together. It's like it's fate.
Yeah. It just happened.
The effects
you couldn't teach anybody that, because you couldn't say, well, this is how you write the song, because I clearly have no way to tell you. I am just sitting up with insomnia at 2 in the morning, humming stuff into a microphone, like just without any rhyme or reason. And then Nick comes along and goes, "Hey, check this out," and puts some drums behind it. Before you know it, there's like actual song there. I don't know how we did that.
Yeah, I've been in bands where people will get in literal fist fights over writing a song, and the song will take a month to write.
No, I don't do that.
Yeah. With this stuff, it's just so easy because we just go with the flow, and we're more worried about writing a good song than having our individual pieces shine.
Oh, yeah, I don't care about that.
I think it molds well together.
For me, it was just a feeling of, I can't sleep. What should I do? I don't want to look at Instagram anymore. I want to go and do something fulfilling at 2 in the morning. I read 1 million books already. Let me play with, the software that we have on our computer and see if I remember even how to work it, because it had been so long since I've even touched it. And somehow I did figure it out.
Well, it's super cool that it became out of something like that, like something so cool can come from something that just, I was just messing around early in the morning.
Yep. I think that's the best music, though, because it's not like we're trying. When you try too hard, you can feel that you're trying too hard, and then you can hear it in the song, and maybe it's not so cool. But I think when you don't try it, some of the coolest stuff happens.
Yeah. It's authentic at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys aren't fighting against each other. You're letting it become on its own.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. The best way to write a song.
I agree.
So, of your music, is there a song that you consider your favorite?
I think, like, alternate, because it depicts, like, who I am today and not who I was in the past. Like, the older music represents my mindset of where I was before, and it is not who I am today. I'm always changing, but, like, these days, because I've been spending so much time working on myself, the sound is more indicative of, like, what I wanted to do musically, too. It's more aligned with, like, where my head and soul are at the moment. I think before, when we wrote Dark Cloud, and it was, like, that was fun, but then that took off, and then we were, like, in a label, and we were I always felt like we were kind of rushed with that first EP. We never really got a chance to make it shine because it was being pushed out into the world by other people that I didn't have any control over. So a lot of the stuff that we had released in the past, I don't know if I even would go back and ever release it again. There's stuff I would definitely change. So yeah, so for me, I think my favorite would be the newer stuff. Definitely alternate, is because it's so, like we said before, it's so authentic, and it wasn't rushed, and it wasn't like, hey, we got to get this, we have a deadline, because when you're signed to a label or when you're dealing with managers or all this other stuff, like, there's always a deadline, or there's always someone pushing you to get something finished. And as an artist, sometimes it's hard to finish things. And so I think we wrote alternate, like, maybe, a year before we even released it. It was, like, kind of lingering. Because we were just also, like, dealing with, the artistic assets, like, what kind of cover, cover art to be on there. We just really, like, took our time with it. We didn't rush it. So I think that's my favorite.
I think it's my favorite, too, and also because it was the first song that we did all of the production on. Yeah,
so that's what's really beautiful about that song, is we didn't use any outside production. On the other songs, we always had to, like, bring someone in to help us do final production on things. And I think Nick and I had grown so much that we felt strong enough to just be able to do it on our own.
Yeah.
And I think you did a really good job too, like with your production stuff, because not having to rely on other people.
Yeah, it's great not having to rely on other people, and I think just from recording the other EPs, we learned enough to where we can actually put real stuff out on our own now. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
For alternate being all you guys, it does sound really, really good. I'm really impressed with it as well. Is it going to lead to something in the future? Do you have plans to add more like that?
I mean, as for the future right now, we're just kind of going with the flow. I mean, it's an interesting world out there right now, so depending on how you view things, there are radical changes happening, and most people are afraid of change, but I welcome it, so it's kind of the point of being human. So I'm trying to view the world from a positive perspective. I'm not sure what's going on with live performances these days, due to the viral pandemic. I'm definitely going to keep writing songs. I've actually started a new love affair with music right now. After having shunned it for a while due to, like, just burnout, I'm curious to see what will come from it, because I don't know. I think maybe all musicians go through this, or maybe nobody does. This is just our perspective, but, like, I felt burnt out. I felt burnt out a lot by, like, expectations on the part of people that were perhaps on our team or who were trying to work with us, or expectations of just all around, what people want from you. And I don't know. To me, I just got to the point where I didn't even want to hear about music for a while, not just my own, but like I was just not listening to music, and I just didn't want to talk about music. And when people would bring it up, I would get annoyed, and I'm trying to, move away from that because I've grown so much and I've been doing so much work on myself as a person, and I've come to realize that music is an important part of my life. It's always been there, and I shouldn't push it away or punish it just because of how I'm feeling. So now I'm kind of falling back in love with it again, and I think that's where that Tool album has come back in, and some of the other stuff, the tribal fusion dubstep stuff is pretty soothing for me, and I just find it to be, a comforting feeling. And so I think I'm rediscovering music. So that is definitely going to give birth to something from Hail Sagan, I think. I think you're going to hear some stuff from us. Alternate is a piece of the album, I think.
That's so awesome.
Who knows where it'll go from there?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear more. I'm sure a lot of people are really excited to hear more music. Your guys' stuff is incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We definitely would love to share more music with the world. It's interesting because right now the world moves so fast, and the music industry moves so fast, and everything moves just so fast. So back in the day, I think putting out an album could hold you over for a few years. Now it holds you over for a few months. People expect new all the time.
I am glad right now that we've waited, because in the last 3 months, the world has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
So who knows where we would have been if we started work on an album with a label or something like that.
Yeah, or anybody. So I'm kind of also grateful that we're not being pressured at the moment. It's nice.
Well, everyone is kind of on a break right now, and there'll be plenty of stuff to write about after this.
That's true.
Yeah, the world is just in a crazy place at the moment, and it's kind of given time to reflect on yourself anyway. So, that time to step away from music was probably good at the time that you did it. And now coming back.
I think so. I think that it's good to step away from anything in your life. You need to have balance in your life, and if music, no matter what it is, whether it's music or another thing that's going on, if it's overtaking, it's not a good thing. So I think I had to kind of flush it and purge it to find balance in it, if that makes any sense. And so now that I kind of restricted myself and pushed it away long enough, music always finds its way back. And so I knew it would happen, but I just didn't know when. And so now that I'm starting to kind of dip my toes back in again, I feel like it's going to be interesting to see what comes of it, that's for sure.
Yes. So just, I know we don't have a lot of live stuff going on, but to reminisce a little bit, out of all the venues that you've played, which one impressed you the most?
The Cotillion, it was the ballroom, Cotillion Ballroom in Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, it was a nice thing.
That venue is gorgeous. I mean, I'm sure Nick has bigger stories, because Nick has been all over the world and has played on every stage. But for me, that was big because not being in Power Man or a big band, Nick's been in a bunch of big bands, so he's just probably oh, that's not a big deal. But for me, it was not only was it a beautiful venue, I mean, it's just breathtakingly gorgeous, and the way that the room is set up, it's just, they have this really cool lighting system that's in the ceiling, and I don't know, they just really,
it's like a classic
orchestra, right? Like an orchestra stage. It's gorgeous. It reminds you of like Sydney Orchestra, something like that. It has a reminiscent feel of something really classical and beautiful and important. So you get there, and I get there, and I'm just, my mind is am I really going to play this stage? And the place is huge, by the way. The venue, it's a real authentic venue, and so my mind was I don't know. I remember being in the green room, and there's this little dressing room area attached to it, and I'm in there, and I'm just looking, and there's a picture of me actually out there from that, and I remember being totally excited and totally terrified, and because I'd never played a stage so big before at that point. I mean, we did a festival, but it was different. That was just one of those stages they build. This was just gorgeous, and I was just
Cotillion looked so good. Our lighting was on point.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, the larger stages, like the Cotillion, they seem to have just this vibe, and electricity seems to flow better.
Yeah.
So sometimes in the smaller stages you get technical difficulties.
Well, yeah, because of our music being so electronic, we have a lot of computers running and stuff, and so if we don't have a venue that's capable of handling the power to our set, it's happened before. The whole set just crashes in the middle of a song.
Yeah.
And then you have to try to get it all rebooted.
Nice stage like the cotillion, everything fires off nice, and you can actually put on like a really great show.
And the sound guy was really professional and friendly. He wasn't like yelling at us, because you get to some venues and the sound guys, I guess, are just so tired of dealing with musicians all the time, so they just don't have any like room to deal with you.
Especially like if the PA system doesn't have like enough low end, I'm sure they get sick of hearing turn up the bass.
Yeah, people are always complaining, so they're already like curmudgeons, and then you get in there and they don't want to even be nice to you. So the cotillion people were really professional, very pro. I just felt it was just a really great experience. I felt like it just felt like to me like for all the hard work that we had done, it was a good payoff, and then the room was filled. So when we finally get on the stage. And I think we have a video of them like chanting like Hail Sagan, Hail Sagan. And I was sitting there going, oh my God, these people are going to be expecting me to be like at my best. And then it scared me. And I was like, oh my God, I hope I don't fall.
That was a good show.
I'm always thinking about stuff like that, like, oh my God, please don't trip over, because I hate those cables on the stage. Even when they tape them down with the gap tape, I always trip over them. And so like most of our set is wireless, but when we're playing with other bands, we're not so lucky. So usually if there's a cable on the ground, I will trip over it at some point. So I'm like, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall in front of all these people.
Because you're probably wearing heels most of the time, right?
Yes. I stopped doing that actually in Colorado. What was that venue? We played at a venue where the stage was like really tall.
Oh, the Black Sheep.
No, that was in Colorado Springs.
Oh,
it was in Denver.
Yeah, the Summit.
The stage is so Summit Music Hall. The stage was so tall, and I was already having like some mountain sickness, and I was a little dizzy.
Denver and tall stages.
I don't know, but when I got up there and I looked down, and it was such a scary feeling, because I already have like a fear of heights. So I was just like, all I thought about. You could probably go back and find video of it and see that I wasn't really performing at my best, because I was so scared I was going to fall off that stage. There wasn't a lot of space. I think that was when we played with Mushroom Head. So their stuff was taking up a lot of the stage, and so I only had a really small spot to kind of move around in. And I do a lot of dancing and moving and stuff, and so I think if there ever is a video that can be dug out from that, you'll see me looking like I probably look like my eyes are probably deer in headlights, and I'm like trying not to fall off that stage, but I had heels on, and so I'm like trying to move around all the stuff. And yeah, I think after that I started wearing those I started wearing boots that were kind of flat. They kind of had like a wedge, but I think after that that's mostly what I wore, because I was terrified to trip over something or go tumbling off the stage.
I've done a bunch of times.
Yes, you have.
I have video of it.
I've seen it. I keep telling him he should share it. There's some footage from Power Man where he's like in front of like hundreds of thousands of people, and he's like falling off stuff.
Falling off the stage.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep going.
Thankfully I only kind of tripped a few times in my career, but I've never actually fallen, knock on wood, and I hope I never do. But it is definitely a fear, because when you have all those people looking at you and you're trying to enjoy yourself, your mind, that subconscious fear comes and you go, oh my God, like you think of all these things that could go wrong, and like, especially like as a female, like if you have your period, like I was one of my biggest fears on stage is like, oh my God, am I going to, because like just you're a human being, so you're sitting there thinking like all this. So I don't know what fans think is going through musicians' minds on stage, but what's going through my mind is some of the worst stuff you could be thinking of.
Basically, like the movie Carrie.
Yes, that's what it feels like.
Oh my
you
God.
feel like you do, because your subconscious really like messes with you, and you can't stop and go into like, okay, I'm going to go meditate and chill out my subconscious. You're on stage singing in front of people. You have 30 minutes to get this done. Like there's no time to like sit and like calm your mind. So that's when all the crazy shit starts bouncing out, and you're like thinking of all this horrible stuff that could go wrong. Yeah, I try not to think that way anymore. I've been doing a lot of work with my mind, but I don't know. If I performed today, I'm not sure how I would feel. I don't know how much of that would translate over, or if I would just fall back to the oh my God thing.
Well, it's so good that, even though you've had those thoughts, you haven't fallen.
No, I haven't. And I haven't messed up too much. I haven't, forgotten my lyrics, thank God. That was another fear. Because it happens, like, you just because your adrenaline makes your brain do weird stuff. And that's why sometimes I think that people should be more forgiving of artists on stage when they may say or do something really ridiculous. People go, whoa, that was so crazy. It's like, it's probably just an effect of adrenaline. They were just feeling some crazy stuff going on, and their mind was stirring, and then the mouth opens up and says weird shit.
Oh,
yeah.
man. So, what is the best advice that you've received from another artist?
Artist. Well, okay, so he's not really an artist, but I guess he is because he does play drums. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but so when Nick was getting ready to be filmed for Comedy Central for that TV show, The Comedy Jam, he was on it like 2 years ago. He was on the first full season. We got to go to a practice session.
Yeah, it was basically I had to do an audition.
Yeah, it was like an audition/practice thing.
Yeah.
And Bill Burr dressed up as Motley Crue and came out and played drums. And he's a fantastic drummer, by the way. He's a comedian, Bill Burr.
Yeah, Bill Burr.
He's a fantastic drummer. I don't know if a lot of people know that. So he played with Nick on stage when they played. What song did you guys play?
What did we put? We played
was it Kickstart My Heart?
Yeah.
It was Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. So you know, I spent a lot of time backstage in the green room because I'm just there with Nick, you know.
And Bill Burr totally showed up dressed as Tommy Lee, by the way.
He did. He was dressed up as Tommy. He had the tattoo sleeves and everything.
Yeah.
So, well, we're backstage and Bill's just sitting there and I'm sitting there and then Nick comes in. We're just hanging out and the backstage area is very much smaller than people think it is. And so Bill and I are like, we're like face to face sitting on two different couches in front of each other, and we just started yapping about all kinds of stuff.
For hours.
Before we knew, we were back there for like 2 hours talking to Bill Burr. So anyway, Bill Burr asked me about my, experience with the music industry. And I said, well, labels, managers, always people, attorneys, all the people that come around and kind of work with you. And so after we kind of went back and forth about that, and I kind of got it all out of my system, and he told me some stuff, Bill Burr told me, he said, my advice to you, just do your own stuff. He said, don't rely on anyone else. Don't hook up with anyone else. Forget about labels. He's like, those people just want to take your money. They just want to exploit you because they don't care about you. He says, look, at time and time again, in the history of anything with entertainment, if people come in and they want the piece, and they don't care, and then you lose who you are, and you don't get to do what you want. He goes, just do your own thing. Who cares where it goes? You get something out of it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. But at least you can say you did it on your own. And that really changed how I felt. Like when I walked out of there that night, I was like, Bill Burr just like changed my life. He like just gave me the best piece of advice I've ever been given. Like he's
the real deal.
That dude's a real guy. Like he's and I just, in his East Coast charm, Boston charm, where he like, a lot of he says the fuck word a lot. Like that guy says a lot of fuck this, fuck that.
He even wrote a joke in front of us.
Yeah.
And went and pulled it on stage like 10 minutes.
Yeah, because the people at the parking out there were messing with him, and I guess they were trying to get him to pay for his own parking, and he's like, but I'm working tonight.
But I'm Bill Burr.
I'm working it. And they were still, no, you got to pay for parking. And then he wrote a joke, and he was complaining to us about it, and then when he went out to tell his joke, he put that in his joke, and I was like, oh my God, that was hilarious. We actually got to see him write a joke.
Yeah.
So, but he gave me my best piece of advice, and that was not to rely on anyone else, not to worry about, because a lot of people that become musicians get obsessed with like getting signed, and there's this thing about being signed, and I don't know why everyone's so obsessed with it, but it's not actually a good thing. So like, unless a really good deal comes your way, it's usually not a good thing. So his advice to us was to just be independent and do things on our own, and it was the best piece of advice I've ever been given because I took it. I took the advice, and we've always kind of since then done our own thing and stopped trying to like, I guess, be conventional as a band or as a project, and that's opened up a lot of room for us to be able to kind of do whatever we want, which has been really freeing, and
it makes it enjoyable too.
Yeah, we can enjoy it.
We're not being led around and
forced to do anything with timelines. There's no Nick and I don't have any deadlines. There's no such thing as a deadline in this thing anymore. It's like when we want to release something, we just do it, and we just do everything on our own. And maybe it's not as big, and it doesn't seem as like thrilling to the outside world, but to us, it's pretty chill. So I like it this way.
I do too.
So thank you, Bill Burr, for that sage piece of advice.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. You know, what advice would you give someone wanting to follow in your footsteps?
My first piece of advice that I always give people is that music is a very expensive hobby. So, you know, don't do it with the idea that you're going to become rich or famous, because you will be very disappointed. It's expensive. If you don't have someone bankrolling you, which almost every famous musician in the world has had somebody bankrolling them in some way, whether it was a label or a rich family member or whatever, it's just really expensive. So, like, I don't know. I treat music as a personal journal that I share with the world. You know, my goal with it is to connect with like-minded people so we can have a shared experience. And so, if you go into it for the right reasons, you'll get more out of it. And to remember to ground your perspective of success. You know, it's so easy to fall into a trap of thinking that you haven't accomplished anything when you actually have. So it's like being grateful for every step of the way, and don't be preoccupied with wanting more. It's so easy as a musician to feel like, oh, you know, if I can just get this next thing, you know, or if I can get this next opportunity, then I'll really make it. But then you never really feel like you made it, because then there's another opportunity and another opportunity. You're always having all these things that you think are going to, like, frame out your success, and then you don't get those things and you feel like you didn't make it, or you do get them and you forget about them because you're on to the next thing so quickly. And it's almost like a drug, you know, you're constantly trying to get high off of it. And so I feel like it's really important to just do it because you enjoy it, and just do it. I mean, it's so cliche, but it's true. It's like, just do it because it feels good. Don't try to gain anything from it. Because when you set out to try to gain something, it's not only just disappointment, but also, like, I don't know, it kind of feels like you're never satisfied with it. Then you hate it. Then you become jaded. You don't want to become jaded.
I would add, try not to burn any bridges, but at the same time, like, vet the people that you're working with, because there's a lot of scammers in the industry. So just be careful with the moves that you're making. Don't sign anything without having somebody take a look at it, that type of stuff. But
that's really true.
And try to have fun, because once it stops becoming fun, then you're in a bad spot with it.
Yeah, no, that's really true too. Like, I didn't really have a lot of people tell me that when I was kind of going up into the industry, and I feel like, that would have been nice to know that 99% of the people that were going to ask me to work with me were going to be somebody trying to screw me out of something, or the other thing is just like, you know, in terms of, he's right about the burning bridges situation. Well, sometimes you have to burn a bridge. Sometimes you have to burn a bridge. I don't want to give out the message that deal with someone toxic because, you know, you should be. That's not true either, because I feel like,
that's why I said try.
Yeah, I've burned bridges with some pretty big people that didn't deserve to be in the room with me, because I felt that they were incredibly toxic. And I haven't ever come out and said about, like, who it was or what they did, but, like, I feel better for it. Maybe I lost an opportunity from it, but now I don't have to feel like I gave up a piece of myself for something. But the other part about burning bridges, though, is that, like, there's been people that have worked with us who have been really shitty towards us, but then had the audacity to put my name on their resume. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you a good recommendation. Why are you putting my name on there? You, like, totally ripped me off.
Delicate balance of not wanting to burn a bridge with people, but at the same time you have to put your foot down with some people, because they'll try to take advantage. So and you have to vet the people to see, like, is this going to be something that's really going to hurt me in the long run, or what?
So what you're saying is
that bend and flow with it.
You're saying that music is like an aquarium, a saltwater aquarium tank in your living room, and, like, if you don't do things exactly the way you should, you're going to fuck it all up and everything's going to die.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. So it's an expensive hobby, like I said, but it came full circle. It's a very expensive hobby.
Well, that actually leads me back to, how long have you been independent?
Oh God, since the beginning, because we've only signed for a few months.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
nice.
We dipped our toes quickly in the label world, and then we quickly dipped them out and ran away. It was like, okay, let's try this, and that's enough, bye.
Wait a minute.
That's all we're allowed to legally say.
Yeah.
Right on, right on. What is the most flattering comment you've received from a fan?
I mean, getting any comment at all is quite flattering in itself. The fact that anyone would even want to comment to us is fantastic because, I mean, wow, you know, that's awesome. But I'd say I love it when I'm complimented on my voice. I've always had a bit of a fear of whether I was good or, you know, whether or not I was good enough, like, to be a singer. And that fear held me back a lot, and I've run away from a lot of opportunities because of it. So when, you know, when fans say that they love my voice, it gives me confidence to continue on this path. I'm working on my self-confidence, and like I said earlier, like I'm doing a lot of changes in my life, and positive, like super positive, and it's actually made huge changes quickly. Just being positive has such a massive effect, and like, and so I think my self-esteem has grown from that as well, which is going to be cool to see with future music, as you know, as well. But like, yeah, I just the fear of falling off stage is one of many fears that I had, and one of them was just not being good enough and not singing good enough. So when someone compliments my voice, I'm like, wow, that's really nice to hear, because I really thought I sounded like shit there. So I'm like, okay, maybe that's the voice inside my head that, you know, that little voice that tells you you're not good enough maybe is lying, and maybe I should listen to, you know, the truth. And so, you know, it's hard because, you know, I never set out to be, well, like, I mean, you know, you said, of course you want someone to hear your music. You don't want to just play for yourself, but I never knew it was going to be as big as it got, and I never really set out to, and I don't even think I really understand how big it is. To me, I think we're so tiny and so insignificant, but then other people will come along and say something that will slightly remind me that we're not insignificant, and it'll blow me away. So when you first called us and you said you were, you know, like flabbergasted by being able to speak to Nick because he was in Power Man, that's kind of how I feel when people will mention like our success or where we're at, because I don't see it from the same eyes that everybody else sees it from. So for me, I'm just Sagan. I'm just the person. Nick is just Nick. He's just the person. And here we are in this world being people. And then other people view us as like kind of outer worldly in some ways. And so I don't know. To me, that freaks me out. So I go, whoa, wait a minute. And then I have to look back and go, you know what? We have done a lot. And then, you know, kind of say, maybe I don't sing so bad after all. Maybe I'm an okay singer.
Honestly, I was super nervous to talk to you. And don't get me wrong. I wasn't just flabbergasted with Nick. The whole thing is just really amazing because both of you are very, very talented people, and that confidence shows in the music. It shows in what you create. And, you know, your voice is amazing. You have amazing presence. You're beautiful. You know, you have this, you just have so much. And that's, you know, that's why people see you as like this shining light.
I think that's so wonderful to hear, because I think as humans, we are raised and to feel bad about having confidence, because then people think that you're being, you know, like, I don't know, narcissist or something. It's always beat into us to think, like, don't think that you're too good, because if you're too good, then that means you have too much confidence, and then you have an ego. And so I think that, like, between that and then just the kind of people that maybe I was exposed to growing up, and, like, I just never felt, like, empowered by anyone. And so I had struggled with anxiety and things like that, where, like, I just always felt like I wasn't good enough for a lot of things, and I kind of beat myself down, and then I allowed other people to beat me down as well. And so I just never thought I was good enough at anything. And, you know, when people say, you're beautiful, I always say thank you, and I always thank people, but I don't always see what people see. So I think as a human being, you know, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you might be seeing something completely different than what other people see. And so I don't always see that. And so although I'm starting to be convinced that people say it enough now that I should probably start listening, but, you know, as humans, we're flawed, and so it takes time, and I've been spending a large portion of my life the last few years trying to focus on positivity and self-love, which was really harder to do than it sounds, because you think, well, why shouldn't you love yourself? Well, because we're told that we shouldn't love ourselves. We're told that self-love is narcissistic and that it's selfish, but that's not true, because without taking care of yourself, who else can you take care of, you know? And so I've been really focused on that, and finding the beauty in not only, like, who I am, but like what I do. And I think that our newer songs reflect that as well, because I didn't feel pressured into being a good singer. I didn't feel pressured into anything. I just, if things flow and be as they are naturally. And I think that's where like the beauty lies. And so I'm still learning. You know, I'm a person. I'm on this planet. I'm learning. So, you know, for me, compliments are still always difficult. I still turn red and get shy and think, you know, people say to me all the time, like, they'll give me a compliment and say, oh, you probably hear this all the time. And I go, yeah, but it doesn't mean that, you know, I don't appreciate it when you say it, because you're a different person, and I appreciate that you even thought of me in the first place, you know? So, yeah.
The fact that you feel that way is awesome.
An interesting place to be.
Yeah, I mean, we're our own worst critics. Arrogance and confidence are two completely different things. And
yeah, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that growing up. I thought it was the same. I thought it was, if you were confident, you were arrogant. I always thought, oh, if you loved yourself, you were arrogant, and if you, you know, said anything nice about yourself, you were arrogant. Those were just lies that whether society or my subconscious told me. And I learned later on that's not true. You can love who you are. You can love what you do. And when people would say I was talented, I would cringe. I would literally cringe and say, "Oh, why are they saying that about me? That's not true. I'm horrible." You know. And now I'm going, you know what? You're right. I have something to offer, and I do have talent. And now I'm trying to help other people find that stuff. So, you know, kind of look inside and find the good and not focus on the negative so much.
That's so good of you.
And it's important. When you learn something, you should teach, right? So what's the point of learning something if you don't share it? So
Definitely.
I feel like a lot of people feel the same way that I felt, you know, beating themselves down, feeling like things aren't good enough. And I found in my spiritualism and research with just like quantum physics and like who I am as a human being, well, in a human experience, is that, you know, and it's in the song Alternate, everything we think we become, we create our own world. And so if you're always feeling down about things and you're not feeling good about who you are or what you're doing, then that's what you're going to get, you know. So you start putting out that positive vibe and have confidence and feel good about yourself. And you can say, I am beautiful, you're beautiful, we're all beautiful in our own way. If you're okay with saying that, and you're okay with saying, I deserve the best, nothing egotistical or, you know, arrogant about that. You should want the best for yourself. Why wouldn't you? So, yeah, that's who I am right now. I'm learning how to be that person. And so I think you'll see that, too, with the new music. You'll see that reflection. I'm way more confident.
That's super inspiring. That's very, very cool. So, you know, I know you've given a lot of messages, but what is one specific message you would like to give to your fans?
I mean, for right now, I want my fans to feel comfortable as a human being in this world. I know it's hard because social media has taken up a lot of people's time. It's occupying a lot of space, and a large portion of it's incredibly negative, and that can really kind of change and, in fact, manifest the way that the world turns out. I mean, we're all complicit in manifesting some crazy shit. So, you know, it's like for my fans, I want them to know that they're going to be okay and that things aren't as horrible as they seem. It is horrible when you're watching the news all day or you're on Facebook looking at people posting, you know, constantly putting articles up because you're only seeing the headlines and it sounds like the world's falling apart. But it's really not. There's so much beauty out there. There's so many magnificent things and wonderful things to be discovered if you just put the phone down. So it's like, you know, or you can find things out there if you curate it yourself and don't let other people curate your world. And that's the problem people are having, is you're letting everyone else curate your world. You're letting everyone else decide what goes into your mind every day when you sit on that phone and flip your finger over the screen. And that's why it feels so horrible and negative. With the pandemic, you know, we've had pandemics in the past. There will always be pandemics. There will always be flus and viruses. And yeah, you should be safe and take care of yourself and take care of your family. Wear your mask, you know, wash your hands. That's just something you should be doing. I was wearing a mask before this happened, and people made fun of me, right?
Yeah.
We were wearing our masks because I was having a little bit of a health thing going on, and I had to wear a mask because of the medication I was on. And people would like look at us like we were from another planet.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so now I'm like, oh, I can
Now everybody join the planet.
Yeah, so now they're all on our planet. Now I don't have to feel weird anymore. But yeah, I mean, do what's safe. Do it. There's nothing wrong with it. If it's going to protect you, then do it. And if it doesn't protect you, we'll do it anyway, just in case it does. But but don't perseverate on that stuff. Just because there's a virus going around doesn't mean it has to occupy 24 hours of your day, 7 days of your week. You can focus on other things. I do gardening. Our backyard is a garden. We grow our own food and our herbs, and we even have Venus flytraps back there. To me, that's like my escape from the world. I love to be in nature, and I think people need to find kind of that stuff. Go back to the basics. Go back to the beginning. Go back to what humans were meant to do, not stare at the news all day. And so I want my fans to break away from that, guys. Just put your phones down, go into nature. You have to be on your phone. Seek out, search out positivity and find things that'll make you feel good. It'll absolutely change your life. I've been doing it for the last 2 years, and my life has become so amazing because of it. Anything you want to add?
I think you about summed it up.
Oh, and cooking, too. I've been cooking. In fact, today we did something really interesting.
Uh-huh.
So it's actually sitting in our kitchen as we speak. Frankenstein. So we watched a TV show the other night, and this guy made a vegan ham out of watermelon.
Like a grilled watermelon.
So we were so fascinated by it that we were like, we got to do that. So we ran to the store and bought a watermelon, and we dry rubbed it, and we left it marinating overnight. And we baked it for 3 hours and basted it and barbecued it, and now it's just sitting waiting to be cut, and we have no idea what the hell the thing is going to taste like.
That's amazing.
It's happening right after this.
Right after this interview, we're going to open that thing up and we're going to eat it, and I don't know what's going to happen, but that's what I'm talking about, stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's always the classic musician thing of ripping up your house and remodeling.
Oh, yeah, ripping up the floor.
Yeah.
We were joking about that. When we used to live in Hollywood, if you had musician friends that were, in bigger bands, you wouldn't see them for a while, and you say, hey, what's new? And, just ripping up tile in my house. And, of course, we couldn't identify because we didn't have a house, and so we couldn't rip up anything, and we didn't know. But now that we have our own place and everything, it's like, oh, yeah.
That's exactly what we've been doing.
We rip up tile.
That's amazing.
What we're doing, ripping up tile. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
It's interesting. So,
and it's very cathartic, by the way.
it does. It feels great to rip things up and rebuild.
That's so rad, guys. So that was my last question. Is there anything that you guys would like to add?
I don't know. I just want to add that I hope that I can contribute more positivity to the world, and that other people are willing to commit to do the same, and we can start focusing on good stuff. And
like grilled watermelon.
Like grilled watermelon. I don't know if that's a good thing.
We'll have to let everybody know.
We'll have to let you know, because I don't know what's going to happen with that. But we did recently grill pineapple, and it was fantastic. So I have high hopes.
Awesome.
And I just want to thank you guys. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, and we're so glad to have met you, and now you're a part of our life. Look at that.
I'm so happy to have met you.
Thank you.
I'm beyond amazed that I got this opportunity, and I am very, very grateful. All right, well, I can let you guys get to your watermelon ham.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
I'm so excited.
We'll let you know how it turns out.
We'll let you know what happens.
Yeah, definitely let me know how that goes, because I might have to do that myself.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
It looks like a ham.
I've
watermelon.
never had a ham. I'm a lifelong vegetarian, and I went vegan 2 years ago, so I have no idea what ham is even supposed to taste like. So I think I'm going to be less disappointed by it than Nick will, because he's a meat eater. So.
Oh,
it'll be good.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know.
I eat everything.
All right. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a beautiful evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.